Caitlin Clark, right? Like, she's lighting things up. She's probably made more in NIL money, or could potentially make more. The money in the WNBA is non-existent.
Right.
Right? Like,
but she could change that.
But can she?
Something went down behind closed doors in Indiana. Something that could change everything we thought we knew about the Fever. According to several podcasters and online insiders, a private meeting took place at Pacers Entertainment headquarters involving billionaire owner Steve Simon, head coach Stephanie White, and top Fever executives. What was discussed in that room has never been confirmed publicly, but if these reports are even halfway true, it might explain every strange thing we've seen over the past few months, from lineup choices to Caitlin Clark's role to the sudden shift in team energy. They say when money starts moving funny, power steps in. And that's exactly what this story is about: money, power, and the most valuable rookie in women's basketball history. Because when a billionaire allegedly says, "This is CCT from here on out," short for Caitlin Clark's team, that's not just basketball talk. That's a corporate order.
I feel like your two Iowa teams left a mark on women's college basketball, but also women's basketball at large. Is that like kind of crazy to think about? Like, you were a part of something that was a catalyst for this like larger group.
I had heard about this Caitlin Clark, and I was like watching videos of her just like having like 40 points, like averaging.
But to really understand how we got here, you have to look at who's actually running the Indiana Fever. Most fans assume the Fever are just another WNBA team. But behind the scenes, they're part of one of the most powerful sports empires in the country. The team is owned by the Simon family, the same billionaires who own the Indiana Pacers and the massive Simon Property Group, the largest shopping mall company in the United States. At the top is Herb Simon, now in his 90s, a legend in Indiana's business world, but far too old to handle daily operations. That's where his son, Stephen Howard Simon, steps in. Steve is the vice chairman of Pacers Sports and Entertainment, and many insiders believe he's the real decision-maker for both the Pacers and the Fever. He doesn't post online, doesn't seek attention, and doesn't need to, because when you control an empire worth billions, you don't have to tweet about it. So when ticket sales began slipping, viewership dipped, and Caitlin Clark's name wasn't trending like before, the Simon family reportedly took notice. And when billionaires start paying attention, someone usually gets a phone call.
Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier were named WNBA All-Star Captains for this year's WNBA All-Star Game. The captains were chosen via fan vote, and Caitlin Clark received 1.29 million All-Star votes this year.
When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, she wasn't just another player, she was a movement. Her debut shattered viewership records, jersey sales skyrocketed overnight, and Fever tickets went from nearly impossible to sell to completely sold out. For the first time in years, Indiana basketball, not just the Pacers, but the Fever, dominated national headlines. Every logo 3 she launched wasn't just a shot, it was pure marketing gold. Brands wanted her image, networks wanted her games, and every kid wanted to shoot like her. Clark's arrival was supposed to mark a new era, not only for the Fever, but for the WNBA itself. But then the system changed, the coach changed, and the entire identity of the team shifted. The logo 3s vanished, the highlights slowed, and the Fever started playing slower, safer, and far less exciting basketball. Fans began asking, what happened to Caitlin Clark's freedom? And quietly, deep inside Pacers Entertainment headquarters, those same questions were reportedly being asked by someone with far more power.
2 turnovers in a row, and Steph yanked me, and she was like, this is like a learning moment. Do we need that in this moment? Like, no. And then she subbed me back in. There was a play where I kind of got a steal, and like we're going in transition, and Kelsey Mitchell just like takes off down the middle of the floor, and so there's like 2 people kind of by her, and I literally like go to grab the ball, and then I like just dribble out.
When Stephanie White stepped in as head coach, her vision was crystal clear: a balanced offense built around teamwork, not stardom. She wanted motion, structure, and discipline, the kind of basketball purists adore, but casual fans often tune out from. The result? Caitlin Clark's role began to shrink. The system limited her signature deep threes, and at times, she looked more like a floor general than a phenom. To be fair, the Fever started winning. They even made the playoffs for the first time in years. But while the team's performance improved, something else was slipping. Ticket sales dropped, ratings cooled, and the viral moments that once dominated social media went silent. Because let's be real, the WNBA's biggest draw isn't just about winning games, it's about Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark. And according to new reports, that's when the executives started getting uneasy. When the money machine slowed, the family that owned the machine decided to intervene. And that's where this story takes a wild turn.
I think it's a really big thing that Diana Taurasi got on the mic and she said these things about Clark after. It kind of, I don't know if it's going to change the viewpoint of Caitlin Clark from a lot of these old bitter, all these old bitter Bettys that are still in the league.
According to comments uncovered during a Fever fan livestream, later discussed by multiple podcasters, an insider claimed that Steve Simon personally called a private meeting with head coach Stephanie White and top executives Amber Cox and Kelly Kroskoff. The alleged message was simple but powerful: this is CCT from here on out. In other words, Caitlin Clark's team. If true, that would be a direct order from ownership to rebuild everything: the system, the brand, and the focus around Clark. Why? Because she isn't just a player, she's a billion-dollar investment in media, marketing, and relevance. The rumor suggests Simon told the trio that from now on, every decision must prioritize Clark, her comfort, her usage, her visibility. And apparently, not everyone in that room took it well. One of those people was allegedly Stephanie White. Reports claim she was furious when told her system would need to be restructured around one player. And when Steve Simon reportedly responded, "You don't have to like it, but that's the way it is," the tension in that office reached a breaking point.
You don't understand how hard it was for me to not throw that. And she's like, oh, I know, trust me. Everybody was like, we saw you about to throw that. But I think it's just like kind of a learning process.
This clip bothered me because if you watch that play where she didn't pass Kelsey the ball after Coach Stephanie White benched her for having a few turnovers in a row, that would have been a momentum shift.
Now, is this confirmed? No. But here's where things start lining up with reality. After that rumored meeting, fans began noticing a strange shift. Publicly, Stephanie White continued praising Kelsey Mitchell as the team's top priority, calling her the key to the Fever's offense moving forward. But privately, insiders began whispering that the coach and front office were no longer aligned. The rumor claimed there was friction, not just over basketball, but over control. White reportedly wanted her motion offense, while ownership wanted Caitlin Clark's team. And in a franchise owned by billionaires, it's not hard to guess who usually wins that argument. Still, to her credit, Stephanie White didn't back down. She doubled down on her system, even as fan frustration began to rise. That's when speculation went into overdrive. Was White's job still safe? Was the front office divided? And more importantly, was Caitlin Clark caught in the middle of a silent power struggle she never asked for? Some insiders now believe this exact tension explains why the Fever's offseason feels so uncertain. Because if ownership truly picked a side, the coaching staff might not be as secure as it seems. And that brings us to the one thing that always cuts through rumors: money. Let's be honest, billionaires don't care about offensive systems. They care about revenue, sold-out arenas, broadcast ratings, and sponsorship checks with endless zeros. And nobody in women's sports history has generated more money than Caitlin Clark. When she was lighting it up, the Fever's numbers exploded. When her role shrank, those numbers cooled off. That's not opinion, that's business reality. So when reports claim Steve Simon allegedly called everyone into his office to declare the Fever would become CCT, it actually makes perfect sense from a corporate standpoint. You protect the star who built your brand. You center your system around what fans pay to see. That's not ego, that's economics. And the Simon family didn't build a billion-dollar empire by ignoring economics. If the engine printing money starts slowing down, you fix it immediately. Now, to be clear, all of this remains alleged. None of these meetings have been publicly confirmed. But the pattern of events, from coaching friction to business decline to sudden shifts in strategy, all seem to point in one direction. And when the dots connect this neatly, it's hard to dismiss. Because at this point, it's not just about basketball anymore. It's about who truly runs Indiana sports: the coach on the sidelines, or the billionaire upstairs with the final say. If the rumors are true, the Fever aren't Caitlin Clark's team just because of her talent. They're hers because ownership decided it that way. And if that's true, every player, coach, and executive in Indiana just got a new boss, one who wears number 22. Think about it: a 90-year-old billionaire passes the reins to his son, a generational superstar reshapes the economics of an entire league, a head coach tries to protect her system, and somewhere in between, a quiet power struggle breaks out over who really controls the future of women's basketball in Indiana. It's the kind of story that sounds like fiction until you look at the numbers, the timing, and the silence that followed. Nobody's denying the rumors, but nobody's confirming them either. And sometimes, silence is the loudest statement of all. Because if this story is even halfway true, it means Caitlin Clark didn't just change the Fever, she changed who runs the Fever. That's a level of influence we've never seen before in the WNBA. So maybe this isn't just about basketball anymore. Maybe it's about control, money, and legacy. And right now in Indiana, all three seem to belong to one person, Caitlin Clark. Here's the question that keeps fans and insiders awake at night. What happens next? Because if ownership truly declared this Caitlin Clark's team, then next season won't just be about basketball, it'll be about alignment. Will Stephanie White adjust her system and rebuild around Clark's strengths? Or will this become the final chapter of her coaching run in Indiana? And what about the locker room dynamic? Will veterans like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston embrace the shift, or will quiet resentment start brewing behind the scenes? Remember, these women are competitors. Every player wants to lead. But in this new Indiana hierarchy, there might only be room for one superstar. Fans have already noticed the signs: a new marketing direction, more Clark-centric promotions, and subtle remarks from executives about maximizing our global reach. Translation: they're doubling down on Caitlin Clark. And if that's the plan, expect everything from sponsorship campaigns to offensive strategies to revolve around her next year. Because this isn't just the WNBA's most popular rookie anymore. This is a billion-dollar brand in sneakers and a ponytail. The Fever may never admit it publicly, but actions speak louder than press releases, and every sign points to a major internal shift, one that could define not just a season, but the entire future of the franchise. So as the dust settles in Indiana, one thing is clear: the power dynamic has changed, the money is watching closely, and fans can feel it in the air. The only question left is, when the next tip-off comes, who will still be standing?